You know, as a Niners fan, when it comes to thinking of the best defensive seasons by a rookie ever, I think of recently Nick Bosa. He had some of the highest pressure totals out of any defensive end that was a rookie in NFL history. He had 9.5 sacks, and he had a big game against Cleveland on Thursday Night Football. And he helped lead the 49ers all the way to the 2020 Super Bowl, where they, of course, ended up losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. But now, hold on, let's pause there a second. Imagine if this dude, Nick Bosa, instead of winning Defensive Rookie of the Year with 9.5 sacks, imagine in 2020 if he won Defensive Player of the Year with 9.5 sacks. He would have beat guys such as Stephon Gilmore, who was by far the best shutdown corner in the last 2 years up to that point, and he had 6 interceptions, which led the league. He would have beat Chandler Jones, who had his best season of his career with 19.5 sacks, TJ Watt with 14 sacks, and Shaquille Barrett with another 19 sacks. That just wouldn't make sense. Everyone seeing a man with 9.5 sacks when Defensive Player of the Year would have called it fraudulent. Y'all would have hated it. Y'all would have called it a Mickey Mouse Award, because that's a toxicity we're getting into in the NFL community. Day by day, the NFL community becomes more like the NBA community. Either way, it wouldn't have been the right choice for Defensive Player of the Year when there was a lot better defensive players on the ballot that year. And if you just used your eye test, no way Nick Bosa should have won. That's how I'm going to segue into my video. So this award race has actually bothered me for a few years, and it's been on my mind for a few years, but I just recently started posting videos. And what would this award race be? The 1981 Defensive Player of the Year. Lawrence Taylor, one of the greatest, if not the greatest defensive player in NFL history, revolutionized the game, creating 2 tight end sets to block this nigga, made the left tackle the second most important position on offense, and changed opposing teams' whole schemes around him. He's a legendary, one of the scariest players of all time, and a great guy. And in 1981, he won his first Defensive Player of the Year of record-setting 3 that he would win in the future. And guess what his stats were in that season? Lawrence Taylor in 16 games had 9.5 sacks and 1 interception, and won Defensive Player of the Year. I know what y'all might be thinking. Zaza, they didn't track sacks till 1982. I would be on board with they didn't know how much sack totals each player had, but the eye test should be fucking enough. And especially if you're voting for like NFL awards, legacy defining things for NFL players who worked their whole life to get to this point, you should be able to look at all of the candidates and all of the film on them. You can't just go off of who you hear in the headlines every day in the 80s. Who are the other candidates, Zaza, that you think were so much better? Let me introduce you to a man called Mark Gastineau. Obviously, Mark Gastineau is a stand-up guy, a man who has 107.5 sacks in a 9-year career. Honestly, one of the most underrated defensive linemen of his time. And in the 1981 season, Mark Gastineau had 20 sacks, more than doubling Lawrence Taylor's total. Which is just like, what were we even talking about? What will we be basing this award off of? You can argue you can't just look at sack totals, but like, if a guy doubles the one stat that's important to your position group, because Lawrence Taylor wasn't really a pass defender, but if one guy doubles your totals, the most important totals at your position, when it defines the defensive award, because a lot of times the Defensive Player of the Year award is who had the most sacks this season. If a person doubles it and you win, that is a fraudulent fucking award. That's like an NBA player averaging 40 points per game and losing it to a nigga that averaged 20 and 10. Steve Nash, Kobe Bryant. Okay, Zaza, what's your point? One guy. What if I told you that this dude had a teammate on the same line named Joe Klecko, who had 20.5 sacks as well? 2 players in the same award race doubled Lawrence Taylor's sack totals. 2 players had 20 sacks, and they lost to a nigga with 9.5 sacks, bro. We're basing it off of aura points at this point, because no way you're telling me this dude's better than these guys because his fucking aura being goddamn scary, you know? You need to critically think about this dude. That's one of the awards I want to talk about, the 1981 Defensive Player of the Year. I believe personally to be one of the most fraudulent defensive awards ever given out. On to the next award. Let's get to 1987. And right now we're talking about the MVP award, the most important award you can win individually as an NFL player. In 1987, John Elway threw for 3,198 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions.
Smell like shit! Somebody smell like shit!
and won the league MVP. Hey, maybe quarterbacks were just bad. They weren't throwing a lot back then, Zaza. Look at the other stats. Well, nigga, I did look at the other stats. And in this lockdown shortened season, Jerry Rice caught 22 touchdowns in 12 games played. A wide receiver literally had more receiving touchdowns than a quarterback had passing touchdowns that won the MVP. This is the most fraudulent MVP award in American professional sports history, arguably. Because how the fuck did you get 42% of the shares putting up a goddamn prime Colin Kaepernick season? And the thing is, he wasn't even the best quarterback in the league. It was Joe Montana. In 11 games started, Joe Montana threw for 31 touchdowns that year and placed third in the MVP, only getting half of the votes a nigga that threw 19 touchdowns and 12 interceptions did. But I'm done with that rant. That's the end of this video. I appreciate y'all for watching these, for real. The support on my videos mean everything to me. Let me know what you think about the video. Let me know what you think about these takes. Like, subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.
Week 17.
Rolls right. It's shot by Michael Strahan. And Frog ran right into him.